Anybody here ever tried to just like handle an objection right when somebody gave it? OG Dojo does, yeah. How well does that work out? Not
Not
well.
well at all.
Right. Because what you end up doing is you get into that debate mode that I mentioned a minute ago,
Hmm.
right? Debate mode, argument mode, bad. Short version. We'll talk about this on the psychology call later this week. But when you get into debate and argument mode, it activates a certain part of somebody's brain that is the complete opposite of the one that actually makes decisions. So you don't want to do that. Anyway, clarify, isolate, tie down are the first three steps. Yes, this is from OG Dojo days. I want to make sure we cover this today. It's very, very simple. Clarify is the first step, and it's the most important one, and it's the one that will take you the longest. These other two are kind of just formalities that will save you hassle later. Okay? If you want to think about it that way. Clarify is really the one step. Isolate and tie down are bonus steps. All right? Now, clarify. Clarify, I think all of you guys already know how to clarify, right? When you're in discovery and somebody says they want financial freedom, like you probably already know that, yes, we need to clarify that. What do you mean by that? Where does that come from? What's the significance of that to you? Where do you feel like you don't have the freedom right now? Like all that kind of basic stuff. We all got that so far? Do I need to dive into that at all? Okay, fantastic. So that's all that you're doing with this is you're just clarifying on the objection. You are running discovery again on the objection that they give you. Somebody says, that's a lot of money. I don't know what the fuck that means. I need to run discovery on it. What do you mean? Where does that come from? What does that, what is a lot of money to you? How does that compare to the investment? All sorts of stuff, right? But clarify, that's where you spend the most time. Isolate is then kind of a luxurious next step that I found. And tie down is, I think, really important. So if you skip one, skip the isolate, but really it only takes like 12 seconds. Okay? Isolate, all that it is there anything else? Like what else? Daniel G literally just says what else when he gets objections, if you guys have heard of that sales trainer. I love that. So we clarify, we go through, blah, blah, blah. Okay, got it. So the money concern is just, it comes from a time that you've gotten burnt in the past. Things didn't work out. And so you just want to make sure that you don't waste money. You don't just set it on fire. I get that. Okay, cool. Understand that. What else? They're going to be like, oh, what else? Like, okay. Like most people are kind of shocked that you ask for another objection. Oftentimes they won't be able to come up with one. Sometimes they might. They might give you another one. That's why the isolate is important, because I'd rather find that out early than later. I'd rather not go through 5, 10, 15 minutes of objection handling just to find out that there's another more important objection. And then we got to do this whole fucking thing again. The longest time I ever spent on objection handling was right before I created this. I spent like an hour and a half on objection handling. It was so stupid. But that's why I created this. So isolate and make sure that you really get the real one main objection. Tie down then, there's 3 steps to this. I'll actually write them out for you here and talk through it. Step number 1 is, do you feel this can actually get you to the result? So feel specifically, not do you think, not do you believe, do you feel, with everything we've gone through, this can actually get you from problem and pain to goal and dream? Okay, we'll talk about that later as well. I always do logical and then emotional on the pain side and then on the goal side. Feel, and then we've got why, get them to double down, justify, and then we've got scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. Let me see, how much time do we have? Okay, 5. We got time. Scale of 1 to 10. There's a couple of steps to this one. Step number 1 is you ask the scale of 1 to 10, but you frame 1 as utterly ridiculous if you want them to be close to a 10, and you make 10 kind of normal. Or if you want them to be close to a 1, you frame 10 as utterly ridiculous, and you make 1 super normal. So favorite way of doing this, scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you hate my red beard, and 10 being you feel reasonably certain this can get you to where you want to go. Where do you feel like you fall? What, like they're not, like maybe they do hate my red beard, but they're probably not going to say it, right? They're just going to laugh and be like, okay, yeah, like an 8. Okay, cool. So step number 2 is why not a 1? We want to do why not a 1 first, because then that gets them to justify for themselves why they are so certain. If you just did the 3rd step, which is what would it take to be a 10? To be a 10. If you just did that, they would say, oh, well, I probably need this, that, but they just give you like more objections, or like, why not a 10 or whatever. So we always go framing the scale of 1 to 10. Why not a 1? What would it take to be a 10? That's like the full process. So let's just put this here. This says what else? So clarify, just run discovery on the objection, get to the root of it. Isolate, or make sure what else. Make sure there's no other objections I'm going to have to deal with later. We can just handle the one most important thing. 3 is then tie down. Do you feel this can, aside from that objection, aside from just wanting to make sure you don't set money on fire, do you feel this can get you to where you want to go? From XYZ problem and pain to XYZ goal and dream outcome. Yes. Why? Okay, scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel about that then? Like how confident do you feel that this can actually get you there? 1 being, this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life and you hate my red beard. 10 being reasonably certain that this can actually get you there. I feel like an 8. Okay, cool. Why not a 1? Oh, well, because I've seen all your testimonials, your great case studies, your results, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what would it take to be a 10? I don't know. Do you have like a guarantee? What happens at this point is usually the real objection. If they say anything other than what you found out up here, this is the real objection. Screw what you found out before, this is the real one. If they bring up what they said before, it's a real objection.
Now, if you're in sales and your income goes up and down like a fucking roller coaster every single month, and it feels like a casino, like you never really know what you're going to make next month, and that anxiety, that stress just gets you, I get that. I have lived that in my entire first year in my career in sales. And I struggled until I figured out that the one skill that I really needed to be successful at sales was adapting my communication and my process to each individual prospect that I ever spoke to. But that took me years and over $1 million invested into coaching and mentorships and learning in order to even figure that out and fully learn it and actually master it. You see, I learned that most average salespeople sell the same exact way to every single person, but the ones who are really successful, the ones who make 30, 40, 50K every month for years on end, actually adapt their process to understand the person who's in front of them and sell to them the way that they want to be sold to. They simply read the person in front of them, they understand how that person thinks, how they buy, how they make decisions, and what they need to hear in order to do so. And they just simply adapt, and it works every single time. That is what we call adaptive selling, and that is a skill that turns every cold lead into a closed deal. And once I figured that out, I kid you not, my income skyrocketed. It doubled month over month for the next year straight. And that skill is why I created the Black Belt Closer. Here's what some of my students have done with this exact approach. Ahmet went from inconsistent 5K months to over $30,000 in just 20 days of working for a month. Joe went from 10K a month as his top month as a closer to consistently making 30K a month for the next year straight, and then becoming a sales coach and making 80 grand the very next month. Oscar went from inconsistent 5, 6, 7K months, even his top month was a 10K month, to consistent 20K months and even a $32,000 commission month on the way. That was the biggest income month of his entire life. And one of his best friends, Brody, who also signed up, went from, he was doing anywhere between 5 to 15K a month consistently to 25K a month consistently, and his top month being $29.3 thousand in commissions. And he even made upwards of $9,000 in commissions in a single day. Velko is another example. He consistently makes $45,000 to $50,000 every single month and has been for almost the past year, Ethan, same thing. He started with zero sales experience. He was brand new and he went from zero to $20,000 a month consistently in just a year. And Vince made over $12,300 in commissions in his very first month as a closer, even as a brand new beginner. Renee went from closer to sales manager and even sales director, hitting 20 to 30K months consistently for 6 to 12 months. And these guys and the thousands more that I've coached on this exact adaptive selling system prove that it works. And once you learn it, you can finally stop hoping that the right person just magically shows up on your call, hoping the right person is fed to you like a baby bird from marketing, which, let's be real, can go up and down every single month. You never know what the fuck's gonna happen there. And you can start adapting your process in a way that you know for a fact will work for every single person that you call, every single person that shows up on your meetings, and finally start making consistent money in sales every single month after month, year after year, like clockwork. And you can do it no matter what offer you're on, no matter what happens with marketing, and without even having to change your selling style that you're used to, that you've paid thousands of dollars to learn and probably thousands of hours to practice. The freedom that you got into sales for is finally here. Click the link down in the description below in order to see if Black Belt Closer is the right fit for you.